It looks like the parties in the new coalition government could still change. Yesterday, the PAC announcing, last night in fact, that it would join the new coalition government. There are some indications that BOSA, Build One South Africa, could join as well. Its leader is Mmusi Maimane. He was at the inauguration. Mmusi, good afternoon to you. Have you taken a decision yet on whether you are going to join the new coalition government?
Good afternoon, Stephen, and good afternoon to fellow South Africans. I've been unequivocal at saying that it's important that we begin to understand what the government is intent on doing. The president today gave a glossary of challenges, and it wasn't my expectation that he would give a detailed plan. But what I'd like to do is to say, post this engagement, can we talk about what he wants to do in education, what he wants to do in the economy? And that would be on the agenda set forward, the determining factor as to whether we join or not. Because this is a grand coalition as it sits at the moment. And ultimately, for parties such as Build One South Africa to join, we have to ensure that the agenda is consistent with what we promise South Africans will do. That's A. And B, that agenda will deliver for the 60 million rather than it be a sort of puzzle pieces put together of various political parties to achieve the notion of what is called a GNU. But in effect, you've created a government that A, cannot govern, B, doesn't have an agenda, and 3, is not held accountable by any means to ensure that we curb excesses that we've seen in the last 30 years.
It seems to me that you may face, as the leader of BOSA, quite an interesting strategic choice at this time. There is certainly, as part of the realignment in our politics that we're seeing, going to be space for opposition parties. In fact, some of them, because some of the opposition space has almost been vacated by opposition parties going into the government, there will be more space in opposition. Or parties might find they can have more influence by being inside government. At the same time, I don't know if there's much difference in the policy positions between your party and a party like Rise Mzansi. I mean, there are all sorts of things you could do. You could join the coalition, you could stay outside, or you could merge with other parties outside and become a louder voice.
So the first strategic point that we've got to make is create a centrist caucus. As you can see, there's a caucus between the DA-ANC, there's a caucus between what is called the progressive caucus with the parties there. There isn't a caucus that sits in the middle that says, what are the interests of South Africans that are multiracial, that have an interest in a mixed economy and an inclusive and an education that improves, that sort of notion. And I think we could bring that together, both as a function of either in government or in opposition. So that has to be built because those voters have a voice and have asked Build One South Africa, at least for one thing, they've given us that mandate to represent them in parliament and as things stand at the moment, to hold the government to account. But on the second score, even if you were to join the government, you cannot join simply say to yourself, you can't create that agenda to be fulfilled. Because if you fail to do that, then we'll look back in 5 years' time and South Africa may be in a worse place than what it seems to be in now. So for us, this is a decision that we have to make on saying what is in the interest of the 60 million and ultimately what is the policy agenda that we are going to advance in the next 5 years. And I can't promise South Africans economic inclusion and serve in a government that doesn't achieve that as an argument.
Mmusi Maimane, thank you very much indeed. Leader of Build One South Africa, do appreciate it.